Welcome to Get Smart Office Edition.
The show where we help you laugh about and get better at office life.
I'm Shannon.
And I'm Laura.
And it's Friday.
Woo! On Fridays, we share the real stories that inspired our skits and tips that we share on Mondays and Wednesdays. Plus, you get to hear the bloopers that our editor thinks are funny, and hopefully you will too.
Now, let's get smart.
And silly.
So, Laura, do people book meetings on your calendar?
Yes.
And when they do, are they thoughtful about it?
Not all the time, no.
Tell us how things go.
Okay, well, recently we've been having to do something where we are scheduled to go to somebody's cube and meet with them about ergonomic evaluations, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So these meetings are scheduled for us by a third party, someone else in the office. Multiple times, she has scheduled one of these meetings for me on a day off. And then I tell her that, but then somehow the other person isn't notified that I'm not there. And so then I come back to messages of, are you coming to my cube? What's going on?
You here?
Where have you abandoned me? And I was just like,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was out of the office and that wasn't removed from your calendar.
On your calendar, does it show that you're out of office?
Yes, I do. When I'm scheduled for a day off, I will mark the whole day as out of office with some sort of title like off.
So this is a person who cannot look at the scheduling tool to see that you're out of office, clearly.
Yeah, so this is a great example of what was in the skit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
But worse because I wasn't there. I wasn't even there,
And
man.
then somebody else is like, why aren't you coming? Why do you hate me? Why aren't you at my meeting? My back hurts from sitting in this chair. Why won't you help me?
Just like that.
Just like that. I'm sure that's exactly how they sound. Yes. I definitely... So people in my office are usually better about the out of office things because I also block off my calendar for being out of office. But I have lately really been having a problem with one executive in particular who I happen to share an office with. And he likes to book meetings at the exact same time I already have meetings and then just expects me to drop the other meeting to be in the meeting that he booked with me.
But can't you split yourself in two and be in two places at once? What's wrong with you?
You know, if I could, I'd get my work done like a lot faster.
Oh,
and
man.
then I would just like, you know, go do fun things the rest of the day.
That would be so useful.
It would be useful. Except I just also don't want to have two of me in the world. Like, I don't want to talk to myself.
Okay, well, that's not the scenario here.
So
Back up.
yeah, back up. So yeah, I do get him booking meetings over the top of meetings,
Okay.
which I just usually will respond to him and say, no, I'm not coming. This is not going to happen. Right.
Yeah.
So I definitely do decline meetings frequently. And then my other thing about this is when people book meetings with me, especially if the title is not very descriptive, like, I just need a discussion, right? Like discussion. That's like sometimes the meeting title.
No.
It's
Do you know what that reminds me
terrible.
of? We need to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait, why would you title your meeting that?
Are you trying to give me anxiety?
Right. And sometimes like
Also tell me what I'm going to be using my time for.
exactly. So sometimes like I do get called into meetings that are about sensitive topics. So they don't want to have like the title on any kind of public calendar or anything that anybody else can see. So I get that. But just put in the meeting invite itself the agenda, because then I can come to the meeting prepared. Yeah. Right. And honestly, you should have an agenda for any meeting you're booking anyway, because otherwise you literally walk into the meeting and you sit down and everybody's like, well, what's this meeting about? What are we talking about? What do I need to do? Blah, blah, blah. We could have all known that in 15 seconds instead of spending 8 minutes talking about it. If you would just put an agenda in the invite. So I did not used to do this, have an agenda in every single meeting invite, but at my last company, my second to last manager I had there straight up said to everyone, if you try to book a meeting with me and there's no agenda in the invite, I will decline your meeting. I will not meet with you. You must have an agenda.
I actually like that policy.
I love it.
That's very, wow.
So,
Man, I wish we did that.
Yeah. So if I ever get to the point where I have my own employees, that will be my policy. I will not show up to any meeting that does not have an agenda. And also, meetings waste so much time at companies.
They can, yeah, for sure.
We actually did, I think it was last year, we did a calculation on how much time our department was spending in meetings, like how much it was costing the company. And it was some crazy amount of money. It was like $20,000 a month.
Of just hours.
Of people being in meetings.
Yeah.
That's just not okay.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder, because I know that our upper management spends a lot of time in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are some days where it's just back-to-back meetings.
All day long.
And I hope they're useful. They probably are. But man, if they're not, that is a lot of time and money.
It is an insane amount of money. And the thing is like, I do have days where I'm in back-to-back meetings all day long, usually with upper leadership. And some of those meetings are very good. Very, very good. And those are the meetings where people come in with a very specific thing that we need to address. They know their stuff, and then they need to know my stuff, and we come to a solution. Those are the meetings that are great. The meetings that I hate going into is where nobody even knows what we're talking about. Nobody's on the same page. And even if you sent out stuff to them, they didn't bother to read it. They have no idea what's going on. And then they expect you to explain it to them in the meeting. It's a little frustrating.
Yeah.
I actually had, there was a project going on, I think it was 2 years ago now. We had a team of people who were involved in this project, and they had like 3 action items in this project, one of which was kind of intense. They needed to go do some work on it. So the project manager scheduled everything, and they had a weekly check-in. So it was like a 15-minute, okay, how are you guys doing on your action items? Do you need anybody to assist you? Do you need us to get, things out of your way? They would come to the meeting for that's supposed to just be an update. And they would come to the meeting and say, okay, well, we need to start discussing this thing that we need to do. You guys are supposed to be doing that on your own. Oh, well, we just assumed this meeting was for us to work on this. No, you need to go work on this. Oh, well, then we need to make a meeting so we can be prepared for this meeting every week.
What?
I was like, are you kidding me? Just go get your action items done.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Where other words crossed my mind, yes. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, don't waste time in meetings.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. Do not be that person. And don't let other people do it to you, right? That's harder. That is harder. But you can say, hey, guys, I just wanted to make sure we're sticking to the agenda if there is one. Or you can say, hey, guys, I noticed that the topic of this meeting is this. So it leads me to believe that what we're trying to solve right now is X. So can we stay on that subject? Because we all have other things we need to do. And I'm happy to talk about why, but let's schedule that for a different time.
Yes, I have heard people do very good redirects of like, okay, if you want to discuss that further, let's talk about it, offline. You can email me. We need to move on to the next topic.
Yep.
Or something's even smoother than that, honestly.
Especially if it's like something you and I need to discuss and there's 10 other people in this room.
And they don't need to be involved.
We are literally wasting thousands of dollars as we have our 10-minute conversation with that many more people in the room.
That really puts it into perspective.
Just think about the dollar cost.
It does. How do you feel about weekly, check-in meetings?
Like with your boss or like on a project?
Like office-wide.
I think that it really is going to...
section, whatever you want to call it.
Like your department?
Yeah, that means something else where I'm from.
Okay. Well, yes, your group of humans.
Your group, your office group.
So obviously I come from like a software development standpoint. So we have what we call our daily stand-ups, and those are 15 minutes. What are you working on today? Are you blocked? That's pretty much the end of the conversation.
Okay, cool.
So we have 15-minute stand-ups. As far as like our larger group, we have a once a week, what are we all doing this week to make sure we're not stepping over the top of each other? But again, this is software development. Okay. When it comes to the people who are not involved in the software development side, we have a once a month department meeting. Okay. Just once a month. And it's like, here's what's going on in the company as far as like the things that are going to affect us and what's coming down the pipe. Here's some training we do during that meeting. And it's usually an hour to an hour and a half. And that happens once a month. Once a month. Okay. They can be useful. For a while, we were doing it every 2 weeks, and that was overkill. It was very boring. They did not have enough content anyway, and they weren't using the time they had wisely. So we went down to one meeting a month. And then they also gave it to somebody who's much better at using the time well. So it's been pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
How about you?
We have a weekly office, group of humans check-in. It has an agenda. The agenda is put on the screen. Mm-hmm. The agenda is pretty much the same every week, but it's put on the screen anyway, and it's followed. And it doesn't always apply to everyone in the room, but the meeting itself is generally only about 10 minutes long.
Then that's probably great then.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, hey, we're all on the same page. Yeah, okay, there's this and this happening. Yeah. Just be aware. Move on with your life.
And it's a good place for the upper management peeps to share any news if there is any.
Mm-hmm. Which is great, because when they do actually come in and they share things, that's actually nice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also do is it once a month now, or is it every 2 weeks? I can't remember. We do a company-wide meeting. So it's all on Zoom. So all the executives are in a physical room together with the cameras on. And then the rest of us are all attending via Zoom. And that particular meeting, I do not find as helpful most of the time. Because it's a lot of very repetitive conversations about sales numbers all the time. And it feels like the exact same, like a meeting from now is the same as a meeting from 4 years ago. You could interswap them and you wouldn't even notice. So that's not great. But on occasion, like last month, they did a meeting where they actually talked about what's going on in the industry and all that. And that was cool, because it was like, you get some insight into the industry. So when they use it well, it's great.
Yeah.
But meetings in general, I just, one of the things we talked about doing after we realized how much money we were spending on meetings is, for a while, we started, anybody who was booking a meeting with our department, or wanted a meeting with our department that we were booking, if they requested X number of people, we actually put the dollar cost in the title of the meeting.
Oh,
because that all of a sudden was getting everyone's attention. Because then I would, if they had requested 5 people from our department, and it wasn't like I went in and saw what everybody's pay rates were, but it was just assume something like $50 an hour for these engineers that we have, even though that's probably really, really low valuation. And you want to put them all in a meeting for an hour? You really want to do this?
I was going to ask if somebody actually did the calculations or if it was a ballpark estimate.
We just did a straight $50 an hour on people. Oh. Because the people they were requesting are our engineers.
Okay.
And
so that was a real example.
Yeah. So it was probably a pretty fair estimate. It wasn't it wasn't like we were this person's getting paid minimum wage, but we're, estimating $50 an hour. This is no, these people probably get paid significantly more than this, but we're just going to tell you $50 an hour just to put it in the meeting invite. And all of a sudden they were I think I only need one person. Can I just have this person? So
wow. Again, very effective.
Yeah. Show them the dollar cost, and all of a sudden people's eyes start bugging out of their heads. It's kind of fun to watch. My time is not cheap, and I get added to a lot of meetings. So I tend to be the person who's do you really need me in this meeting? Because this is costing our company a lot of money. I just directly ask that question.
Good for you.
Because I'm that person.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know subtlety, but direct I can do. So. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, for our listeners, be efficient with meetings. Don't invite people you don't need, and don't book right in the middle of a big block of free time. That drives me nuts. I need dedicated time to actually get stuff done.
I know we're running kind of long on this one, but did you want to explain what context shifting means?
Yes, I do. Okay. So for our listeners who do not know, if you are working on a project that requires your brain to be active, you have to think about this. It isn't just I push buttons and I don't think.
You're solving a problem.
Yeah, you're solving a problem, or it's something that's really intense detail that you have to pay attention to, those kinds of things. When you get into that, it usually can take people anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes to get to that level. And then when you're in there and somebody comes into your cubicle, or you have to go to a meeting, or your phone rings or whatever, you are pulled out of that context. It will take you 10 to 30 minutes to get back down to that level again.
Oh, is that why some days I feel like I've done nothing when I've been trying all day?
Yes. So I very specifically, because a lot of what I do is what you would call deep work, this kind of work where I really have to be concentrated. If I'm going to do that kind of stuff, I block out my calendar for hours at a time. so that nobody will try to book a meeting with me. Number 2, I shut down my Teams, so I'm not getting chat messages. Like I put it on Do Not Disturb. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I close my email, and I put my cell phone on Do Not Disturb.
Dang.
Just so I can actually get deep work time, and then I can actually get things accomplished. But this is the whole, like, people will book a meeting before I've booked some deep work time on my calendar. So I had this 3-hour block where I could have worked on something, and then they book the meeting right in the middle of that huge amount of free time on my calendar. So now I have no choice but to do an hour of trying to get this project or this, task done, then go to a meeting, then come back and have an hour and a half or an hour to try to get back into it. And because it can take up to 30 minutes to get down to context, I end up with, instead of 3 hours or even 2 hours of deep work time, I end up with 1 hour. Simply because they booked in the middle of that big block of time.
Got it.
So
I like that. That is, well, I don't like that happens, but I like that you were pointing that out.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing that's just totally random.
Okay.
I was doing some research about the best time to have meetings. Turns out people are most productive Mondays, mornings, and Fridays.
What?
So you want to book all your meetings if you can.
Do you know how many
Tuesday,
meetings
Wednesday, Thursdays,
are not?
Afternoon.
You want to say that again.
So you want to book your meetings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoons.
Okay, got it. Yes, that makes the most sense. Yes.
So it just, if you can book your meetings on those afternoons, you're going to leave all the productive time that is best for the humans and the company for them to do stuff on Mondays and Fridays and in the mornings during the week. I would just like fewer of them, to be honest.
Yeah, really, honestly, we don't need as many meetings as there are.
Fewer meetings, shorter meetings, targeted meetings.
Both. Yes.
All of the above.
All those things.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, everybody. Hope that helps you. Be a pro at meetings. Be better than everyone in your office.
Pro tips.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye. So, Shannon, if an executive talks in a meeting, does anyone hear them?
It's dependent on the executive, I will say. There are some executives that when they speak, I listen. And there are other executives, when they speak, I immediately turn off my brain.
Are they circling back and synergizing and
yes,
other buzzwords?
Yes. They're synergizing between the interconnectivity of our interdepartmental structure of awesomeness.
Stop.
The thing is there is a time and a place for buzzwords. Sure. They can be used effectively. I don't object so much to that, but a lot of executives have their pet area that they focus on. And granted, if you're an executive, you do have a authority sphere, a vertical structure of people and things that you are responsible for.
Sure.
In the organization. And that's awesome. You should care about that. But unfortunately, what usually happens is when you have an executive who's not not over your area, and they're trying to talk to everybody in the company, or they're coming in to talk to a different team or department or whatever, they never can relate to everyone else. They just seem to sit there and talk about only the thing that they know about and they care about and their team cares about, which that's great for a meeting with their team. But if you're in a company-wide meeting, you really need to relate what you're speaking to the entire company in some way, because otherwise everyone just tunes you out.
Right.
There's just no reason to listen to you at that point. So the best executives I've found are the ones who say, here's what's going on in our team, and this is how it's affecting the company, or this is what we're seeing as far as what's going on in the industry and how it's going to affect our whole organization. Those are the executives people listen to. So I would love to see executives do more of that. So, and also being direct would be great. So have you ever had a leader that you know that they've got bad news, everybody's talking about it, but they're just not sharing anything?
Yes, I have experienced that before, where they're kind of hinting at like, well, change might be coming, but everybody's already talking about it. Specifics, I mean. And it doesn't help anything. Just talk to people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the gossip is usually worse than the actual news.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody goes to worst case scenarios. We just had this happen where everybody was kind of feeling like there was a layoff coming, and it did happen, and it was terrible, but it wasn't as bad as we all thought it was going to be because everybody was already talking about it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so we thought it was going to be way worse than it actually was. And then on top of that, because everybody was talking about it and everybody was freaking out about it, we actually had some employees who left the company because they thought they would be on the chopping block, and they were nowhere near being on the chopping block.
Oh no.
Some really good people who left just because of the gossip that was going around, because the executive leadership wasn't addressing the elephant in the room.
That is a giant consequence.
It's been huge, and it's cost us not only good people, but just, things that we were trying to get done have been absolutely sidelined because we no longer have the people who could have gotten it done.
Oh, sure.
So it's just sad to me. And then also just if you want people to engage with you as an executive and think highly of you, you need to engage with them at the level that they're at. And most of the time when you're an executive and you're talking in a company-wide meeting, you're talking to the people who do the daily work. So yes, it's great that you need to be at that strategic level and you need to be seeing the overall company thing, but you need to relate it back down to what's affecting your everyday employees.
Yeah.
So
a lot of executives used to be rank and file. So I think my tip would be, think back to those times.
What would you want to hear?
Yeah, when you were the one sitting in the audience or the meeting room.
Yep. And then as an employee, so on the flip side of that, I'm often put in the position of speaking to a large group of people who have nothing to do with my department. So I'm not an executive, but I get put in that kind of a position a lot. And it is definitely one of those things where you do have to walk a really fine line of not saying things that you can't say because they're sensitive matters, or because, we're still trying to figure things out and make decisions, things like that. So there is a fine line on that. But as an employee, we also need to give our executives a bit of grace because they are trying to make decisions that affect the entire organization. They have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders.
They really do.
It is intense. It is not something to be taken lightly, because if you are an executive and you make decision A or decision B, you could cost the company millions of dollars overnight. So,
and bad press.
And also, the owners of the company or the shareholders or whatever could be coming after you, or, you could actually make a decision that puts the company at risk for legal lawsuits and all kinds of stuff. So I think also on the other side, just as an employee, let's give them a little bit of grace. And if they aren't communicating effectively, go talk to them, go ask them about it, send them a message and say, hey, you were talking about this thing and I wasn't really quite sure what you were getting at. Is this kind of what you were going for here? Because that actually helps them to get some feedback on how they could communicate more effectively too. So anyway, that's my tips for executive speaks and employees listening. So everybody needs some help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
all the levels. Everyone just, I don't know, have a little grace with each other.
Yeah. Be as direct as you can. Be nice to each other. Help each other communicate more effectively. Yeah. So don't be scared of executives. They're not scary. And if they are scary, they need to not be scary. So make them unscary.
Pro tip, don't be scary.
That is the pro tip. Don't be scary to people. It's just don't do it. Unless they're bad people. And
okay,
then
all right,
be
okay.
scary.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you there.
All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you for this discussion.
No
I
problem.
think that's really good on both sides.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, Laura, how come you didn't come to the meeting with the vendor this morning?
My calendar was already booked. I've had a meeting at the same... Oh, no. I went up at the end of the sentence. I can't do that.
Second, be direct with bad news. Don't go the... Second, be direct with bad news. The bad news. The bad news.
Care about the
Care about the
Baba News. Ignore. Is that like escape?
Escape ignore with the Baba News. Don't die on me. Don't die on me.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe to catch new episodes of Tips and Skits every Monday and Wednesday, and join us for our Real Story segment and our blooper reel on Fridays.
Want to share your hilarious office stories with us? We might turn them into an episode.
Send us your thoughts and feedback at gsoe@diecastmediagroup.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Special thanks to Rebecca, who created animations for our skits, which you can watch on our YouTube channel. Also, thanks to Wendy, our audio editor, Lelia, our social media manager, and Austin, our technical engineer.
If you would like to support the show, review and share with your friends, or consider supporting us on Patreon, links are in the show notes.
Get Smart Office Edition is a DieCast Media Group production.
Does anyone listen?